All right, welcome everyone to this week's episode of Tea with Doug G. If you don't know me, my name is Doug Gooden. So I named that. And this week is also going to be the week that I just struggle like trying to simcom this entire episode. But we're gonna do it to the best of our ability. But I also want to introduce my amazing guest, Blakeland Larkin. So, Blakeland, introduce yourself. Tell everyone like who you are, what you do. Yeah.
Okay. My name is Blakeland Larkin, like Doug just said. But I am 22 years old. I am hard of hearing. I have two hearing aids. They have flowers on them. They're very cute. I go to school right now to become a deaf educator. I have roughly about 2 more years left. And then I'm also a TikTok deaf influencer, and I really enjoy that. It's a lot of responsibility, and I enjoy talking with everyone and helping other people who are deaf or hard of hearing. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, and she's doing some just awesome things like just all around. So so like so you use like the phrasing like deaf influencer.
Influencer.
Okay, influencer. So like if you could speak a little bit about that because I know that you said like it's kind of like a lot of like responsibility, but like how does that feel that now like you have that title or that like identifier? How does that look for you like day-to-day life? Yeah, like if you could just like speak about that just a little bit.
Okay, so for me to be a deaf influencer, I think it's a big deal just because I can help other people. And I've had DMs all the time of people saying, like, I have hearing aids, but I'm ashamed of it. I don't think they're cute, or I don't want to be labeled as an old person, so on. But I go and I'm telling them, I say, there's nothing wrong with hearing aids or cochlear implants. They're beautiful. There's no reason to be ashamed of that. So I was just like, but just getting those DMs, and like I am happy to be there for people who didn't you don't have that in the daily lifestyle, because I didn't have that. I grew up not knowing anyone who is deaf or hard of hearing, like most of my life. Like Doug knew me before I even knew sign. Like I was asking him how to sign things, but now I'm just being involved with the community and everything. So it makes this possible now to do this. But like daily life, it's weird. Like if you know Luke, my boyfriend, sometimes we'll be walking and a person recognize me or Luke and just like, you're from TikTok. And we're like, yeah. But the first time it happened was in the summertime at PCB. And it was just, I get recognized, I think, 4 times just walking around. I mean, it's it's obvious to recognize me because, me and Luke, we just only sign. So it's like, you see deaf people and you're like, sign language. You're just like, wow. So for me, it's responsibility because, I mean, I'm helping other people, and I am I'm educating other people too about our daily struggles and what it means to be deaf, because there's such a stereotype what it means, and that's my goal really, and to spread positivity. There's so much hate in social media, and my TikTok's not about that. So that.
Yeah, and I mean we all love that. Kind of like spreading that positivity. So okay, so real quick, if you could just for like the people out there who like don't know, like could you just explain just a little bit about like the difference between deaf and hard of hearing? Because like I know like you are hard of hearing and your boyfriend, one of my best friends, is deaf. So like, if you could just like explain that just real quick for people who like don't know.
Okay, so my boyfriend Luke, he's deaf. He has a cochlear implant, but also some people can identify themselves however they want. So sometimes I say I'm deaf, sometimes I don't. It just depends on my mood. I've seen Luke call himself hard of hearing when he has his cochlear implant in. So I think it's more about how you prefer to label yourself. But there's plenty of people who don't feel comfortable with labeling, identifying as deaf, and that's fine. So hard of hearing for me means like you're not completely deaf. I can hear some things, and there's things I can't hear at all. Like, I don't know examples, but like riding in a car without my hearing aids, I can't hear like the extra sounds, like the shh. I don't know how to explain it. The AC, the wind going by the car. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Like the environmental sound.
Yeah, that. And it's peaceful. You don't have to, listen to that stuff. But it has been scary before when I didn't know an ambulance was coming. But deaf people are very visual, but I just wasn't visual. I'm just driving. I just wasn't paying attention. But and then like I said, people it depends on people's preferred identification. Deaf typically means you have like a severe hearing loss. So mine's not severe, but even if I have a hearing loss, I still can't understand sound. Like me and my mom were discussing this the other day. Like sometimes I can hear the sound, but I can't understand what the sound is. Like it's just hard to understand. So like porta potty, and I heard the word porta potty, but my friend Morgan said border collie. But like constantly I get messed up words and I can't understand what I'm hearing. So, and then sentences, sometimes I miss like the middle of a sentence, so I can't figure out what the sentence is about. I don't know how to explain it, but hard of hearing, I'm not fully deaf, but I still sometimes identify myself as deaf. But
And I mean,
I'm gonna get a good job explaining that.
It works. But yeah, I mean, like it all depends on the person themselves. So okay, so one of the things that I know that like you're like really like just passionate about is deaf education, like just educating people like about deaf culture and things like that. So one of the questions that my mom actually asked.
Nice. I hope she's watching right now.
I'm honestly like surprised that she has not like posted like a comment in the chat. Uh but yeah. So she wanted to know, like, for a lot of people, having like activities and like being face to face, and having like lessons and teachers who will like interact with them and like kind of like mix and mingle with them, do all kinds of things. um that's like one of the best ways for people to learn. And especially like with ASL and like sign language, like it's really helpful to like be face to face and to do it like
To learn sign like in person.
yeah.
Yeah, I tell people all the time that if you want to become like fluent, then you need to be hanging around with the deaf community. Like trying to learn online, it's just not the same thing. Like with sign language, it's such a visual thing, and you just need to experience it yourself. I mean, it's like riding a roller coaster. You're not gonna know how it truly feels, like the butterflies. But when you start learning sign and you like visually see it, you become scared because you're like, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to sign the wrong thing. But honestly, deaf people are so patient, and we are willing for you to learn and be patient. So I agree with that. You need to be in person to really understand the culture and language.
Yeah, so kind of like adding on to that, in this like world that we like find ourselves in of like the COVID and everything like that, where so much is like FaceTime and video conferencing, like how does that look? Like how does like deaf education work or look or like change with this like video only like world that we find ourselves in?
Well, just again, like sign language is very visual, and sometimes it is hard to have FaceTime, Zoom chats because I mean, I've talked with Luke about that because he's a parapro right now in the deaf school. And it's like he said it's so hard because like some kids don't have like good Wi-Fi or some people don't have good Wi-Fi. That's with anything, not just school, but like anything, and it freezes up. You can't really like see sign when it's it just doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
I think it's very hard for deaf people to have meetings because we're such interactive people and we just we're very like talk so I just feel that with Corona and Zoom chats and everything, it's a little bit of a challenge, yes. But I mean, there's always going to be obstacles when dealing with technology. But I prefer being in person again. It's just better for me.
Yeah, yeah, and I understand that. And also just the added struggle of like masks, like bringing those into the picture. Um, but yeah, um, yeah. So my mom, who is here in the chat,
Yeah, I
so
saw her. She said, "Love you both."
yeah, so I mean, she does like bring up like a good point. In that like losing like that ability to be in person makes things hard. And we both like agree, or we both agree that like one of the best ways to like experience like deaf culture is with learning ASL or sign language,
The
whatever like
history
your
too.
yeah, like whatever like your like native sign language is. Because there's a lot if you didn't know that.
Yeah.
But for people who like just meet like a deaf person or a hard of hearing person, if you like had like one piece of advice, like what would you tell them to like try and like be supportive or accommodating? Um, uh,
Like trying to interact, like chat with them, or you see them
yeah,
in
like
public.
yeah, like if like they don't know, if they know like no sign, like how would you like recommend that uh that they like try and interact?
Interacting with deaf, I mean, there's various of ways, but it's best to gesture, point, thumbs down, thumbs up, like basic, like understanding, international, like I'm good, I'm not good, like good gesturing. If they still can't understand and you want to have a real conversation with them, writing down paper, pen, or text, show. Um, Learn sign is not hard to learn your ABCs, and you probably can learn in one day just ABCs itself. So, and just people just need to understand that you need to be patient with deaf people. Don't be frustrated and just give up on the conversation. It's just there have been so many times people I'm having conversations with them and they get frustrated because I can't understand what they're saying, and they're like, "Never mind, it's not important," and they just
Yeah,
leave. I'm like, no, it is important. It's important to me because I want to be able to have this conversation with you and not feel like a burden because I can't understand you. I think that's the worst thing about communicating with some people is that they become frustrated and they don't want to deal with that instead of being patient and just work it out, I understand if you're busy or whatever, but there's some people like at I don't want to say who, but I had an interpreter and they were interpreting something, and a person was trying to show me, but instead of waiting for the interpreter to finish what she said, she would just click my laptop. She wouldn't be patient enough for me to look at my interpreter when she's talking. She'd rather just start touching my laptop. And I'm like, just just let me just look at my interpreter. I can only do so much at a time. I mean, just be patient. I think that's my advice. Be patient. Because I mean, we're already struggling in this corona world. Everyone's struggling. So,
Yeah, and I mean, like obviously, like can't speak for like all deaf people, or hard of hearing people, but I mean, you said it before. I mean, the vast majority of the deaf community is a very patient community, and like if them seeing that like you're like trying to like make that like effort, or make that effort to like try and communicate, like that does like go like a long way. Okay, yeah, sweet. So all right, so we're talking about like the best way to communicate and get involved in like the deaf community or hard of hearing community, is learning ASL and Sign. So we have one question that says, what are like our best resources for learning sign? Do like you have some? I have some that I use. What were your like recommendations?
typically, deaf people have a get together each month. Luke's on my phone and it's Bluetooth, and I can hear you talking through my hearing aids. I was like, what was going on? Get off my phone. I was like, why is Doug talking in my hearing aids? I was like, Anyways, I forgot the question. Okay.
So
Sorry.
oh, you're
So,
good. You're good.
typically, deaf people like to meet each month at a Starbucks. Typically, here we do the Mall of Georgia. I don't go just because I'm not sure. We have like cliques, I guess, in this community here. Is the most of us are like all the same age, and then there's Brian. and then and then, but it's always good to be like one on one, like we discussed in the beginning of this. Um, Live print. I always recommend people that. I always enjoyed that, even when I was in middle school and I took a sign language class. But the teacher just showed us the videos there. She didn't really teach it. It was with Bill, bald man, beard, life.
Real quick. What was Life Print?
It's a website. You just type in life print. It'll talk about the ABCs, family signs. It has a lot of signs on there, and it's really helpful. I always tell people about that. And then there's always YouTube. There's some TikTokers on TikTok that teach sign. I don't really typically teach it just because it's not what my platform is about. Like, I prefer just to do it, like I just want to sign and do my own thing. I feel like people think that you just need to teach all the time. So, I mean, there's more to me than sign language, It's just like I have things I think are funny or passions. So that's what I would typically recommend.
Yeah. So kind of speaking about that. Kind of like speaking about how like you use like TikTok. Wow, that is a hard sign to do. Yeah. But like I mean, you also like tell people about like deaf culture, and I was just like curious, like what are some of like your like favorite things or uh quirks about like deaf culture, things that like set apart from like
Like
everything
hearing
else.
loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been wanting to do a video about just how loud deaf people are. If you've met Luke, he slams everything. It don't matter. Today we went and bought a turkey for Friendsgiving, and we couldn't decide which one. So I picked up one. He had another one in his hand, and then I said, "Just put that one back." And he just boom, like in the freezer thing. He just drops it in there. He don't have his cochlear implant on, but I have my hearing aids on. I was like, it was just so loud. But he don't understand that when he doesn't have his cochlear implant on. Like he always slamming something, or Joseph's always yelling Luke's name, even though he knows that Luke's deaf. It's just there's always things like that. But I think it's more about slamming things. I've seen some TikTokers make videos about that, how deaf people, you think if you live with them that they're quiet, but that's not true. It's not true at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you see, like, we had last year for Christmas, we had like mostly deaf people and you and Maddie. We played game night. I mean, we were screaming and like competitive, and like deaf people are not quiet.
That may or may not be because that Joseph and I are just like really
Yeah,
really
y'all didn't even have the
competitive.
same team together. On the same team together.
Yeah.
That was not fair. Wait, I was on your team.
Yeah.
Like,
We won. We won that game.
This shit wasn't fair.
Um so actually like really quick story. So one time Luke and I were like on a trip together. And his cochlear, I don't know what was happening with it, but like there was just some kind of like problem with it, and he couldn't hear it, but there was like this really like loud, like high pitched, just high pitched noise, whenever he like took it off,
From his
and yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I don't know what was happening, but I was like sleeping and I just heard it like start during the night, and yeah, like he woke up the next morning and he was like, you look like really tired. Like what happened? And I said, I didn't want to wake you, but like
No, you should have woke him up.
well see like that was when I had like been interpreting for Luke for like half a year, and like we were like close, but we weren't
Is that
like
when we went to that cabin place?
yeah, this was like before I started like trying to steal him as your boyfriend. This was that midpoint of our like relationship. Um but yeah, always a fun time.
I
So
remember that story.
yeah, so real quick, so Amara,
I saw that. I wanted to tell her.
yeah,
I can't see it. Oh, there we go.
yeah,
So I've seen like 3 different kinds of sign for TikTok. Well, first, sometimes people just finger spell it. Another time, TikTok. TKTK. TikTok. TikTok. And then we made one here as the community here when it first started. And we say, that's the 4th one. TikTok. TikTok. It's T and it goes up to the K. TikTok. I'm not sure why we did that, but I've seen so many different kinds, but typically everyone knows what we're talking about. At least I don't remember that story.
I mean, part of me thinks that like he really doesn't remember, and then part of me is thinking that he fully remembers, and he just I don't
He
know.
didn't want to accept it.
Yeah, yeah, always. So let me look for some of our other questions. So one thing, and I didn't send this to you, but I just kind of want like your opinion on it. So one of the biggest things that like one of like the biggest things that just our friend group does, uh we're all just kind of like a bunch of movie fanatics.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest like struggles is that whenever like we want to watch a movie, uh it's very hard to find like a good place to go and watch a movie like in person, like in a theater. So could you just like talk about and incur and like talk about like how important it is for CC and like subtitles?
Yes. Thank you for this awesome question. So, growing up for me, I didn't have closed caption. I mean, this is before Netflix and everything, you know? So, I'm sure there's captions on TV. I just didn't have that. It wasn't, my parents didn't put it on. So, but I remember as a kid, I would get so close to the TV because I couldn't hear anything. Like, I couldn't understand what I was hearing. I was like, get so close. And then my family's like, Blakeland, move. I wouldn't even know that I was walking up to it like a fly with a light. I was just like, I just kept getting closer because I couldn't hear it. I was like, so even if you have it like crazy loud, I mean, it's not gonna make us hear it perfectly. But with closed caption, I mean, we rely on that so much. Like, if we watch it, we're just gonna watch the body language and see like the colors. Like if it's dark, oh, it's dramatic. If it's light and there's suns and birds, the happy moment. So for me, I was very visual when watching movies when I was a kid. But now I don't have to ask people what's going on or anything now. I can watch the closed captions and be independent. But of course, I still ask Luke questions because I'm like, what do you think is going to happen? I like discussing a movie as it's going. And Luke's just like, he has to pause it, like stop it every time. And that frustrates me because because you don't want to miss
Yeah, I
anything.
understand. I understand that struggle, but hey, like, I mean, I'm sorry, Luke, you're not on here, but like, just gonna talk about this, because Luke will totally talk during a movie as
Really?
well. He will when we're watching together.
He said, are you watching?
But
He's looking at my screen, but he has it in front of him. Okay.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, like, I can't just say enough, just like how important closed captions are.
Yes,
Like,
and even if you make a video for yourself and you post it, like you don't know who's going to see that video. And I
mhm,
mean, even old people, they need closed caption. Like, I mean, their hearing going down too. Like, and it's beneficial for more people than deaf people. Even people who are learning the English language,
mhm,
like they've I don't know, maybe Spanish is their first language to say, but they're learning English. It's so important for them to see that closed caption. It's good in development for vocabulary, words, and sentence structure. You know, like there's so much more importance than just deaf people needing captions. It's just there's more to it. So that.
yeah, no, I mean, I fully agree with that. Um, yeah. So real quick, kind of going along that same route. So I mean, 2020 has been just a very, uh,
Interesting, yeah.
yeah,
That's the
and
only thing I can say.
but probably one of like the best things to happen through it is we've found like just a lot of people who have like found like their voice and found their ability to advocate and to give like allyship for like various different groups. And I was just wanting like your opinion on this. So like for people who want to be an advocate, who want to be an ally for like deaf, hard of hearing, like community, like what does that look like? What does that entail like in your words? Does that make sense?
Someone who wants to be supportive with the deaf, I think adding closed captions, not pitting deaf people. There's so many people who think that deaf people are just dumb and they can't do anything themselves. Just let them be independent. If they need help, if they need help, then they'll ask you. Just no boundaries, I think, for sure. Um, I know some people on TikTok, when I say anyone have closed caption for this, they'll make a video just with closed caption for that specific video because TikTok doesn't have closed caption option like YouTube or something. Typically, you have to add it yourself, and some people are too lazy about that, so they don't want to add closed caption. So for me, I think, and also being supportive with people sign. A lot of people tend to like to criticize sign and say that's wrong or whatever, but I've noticed on TikTok that because TikTok is such a big platform of people. I mean, there's so many different deaf people I know, and they live. There's Canada, and there's like all over the U.S. And we all sign different, like trash in Florida, but trash here. But I don't go and tell them like you're wrong. I think being an advocate means to be supportive. I mean, not be so hateful. So that I guess that's the best way I would answer that. Just be a nice person.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like the perfect answer. So yeah. All right, so Blake, so we're kind of like wrapping things up. And kind of want to finish on kind of a funny note. So if you have like, what's like your, if you have one, what's your like favorite blunder or yeah, blunder is the word I'm gonna use. Like in
Wonder.
like yeah, like uh think about it like just like a funny like situation or story that's like happened in like your rises TikTok's personality in the deaf culture, deaf community. If you like have one, does that make sense?
No.
Yeah, okay. I thought it might. Um so okay. So like so like
It's okay. Just take a breath.
yeah, there's a lot of like just thinking like happening on over here. So I'll give you one.
Okay.
So about a year ago, I was interpreting for Luke and maybe you at church, and and Rob, our preacher, he was talking about talking about like godly intimacy, and things like that. And the sign for sex, like I just kept forgetting it, and the only thing I could remember was the sign for the most definitely not just bad sign for sex.
Yeah.
So like that would be like a blunder.
Okay. I was hearing blender. So
Oh,
again, so
the
I was
struggle.
like, yeah. Like I'm reading what Amara says. She said like tampon and flip flops. What?
I think it's like signs that like
Oh, like a similar sign.
yeah, similar sign, or like a sign that like always forget, or like things like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it's kind of hard to think about. Just
Yeah.
you know any idea? Lisa. You say he's trying to think. I don't really.
Or have you seen any that like I do, or any of like your friends do a lot?
Well, all my friends are deaf.
Yep,
So
that's a good point.
yeah, I don't really hang out with hearing people. Only if I go to school. Gosh,
If not, that's fine.
I just honestly don't think I can't think of one. But it can't either.
Well, that's fine. Oh,
Yeah.
really, married or yeah.
She knows what she's talking about. See, I just
Yeah.
don't. I can't just think of it in my head. Like it's not something I think about daily.
Yeah, I got that. I get that. Well, Blakelyn, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I think. Oh my gosh!
Oh,
Hold
I have
on.
one.
Wait.
I have one. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Okay, I
This.
have one.
Always this.
So thank you for reminding me. So the first year I was learning sign, I knew the sign for coffee, but then there's a sign make out. But I signed coffee, but someone told me like, no, you're signing make out. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like I know the difference, but that's the only thing I could think of right now. And always, I taught a sign class, and I made sure everyone was signing the correct "nice to meet you," and not the other thing that we're not going to speak about. But
just having those hands like up.
yeah, these fingers are your people. You don't want them down. You want them straight up meeting each other. So I explained. I felt so bad because one of my students, she was around 80 years old. And she was just probably like, these kids here, like, oh my gosh.
So what's funny about that is so I was teaching a class of like, I think like 4th or 5th grade students, and like I've shown like a bunch of like signs to like hearing like college students, and like I have like my way that I explain like various signs, and I always talk about like this, never have them down, always coffee, never make out. There are other ones that this is a family show, so I'm just not gonna continue to talk about
PG.
Yeah, we're gonna stay PG. But I was teaching one day, and and I was talking, and I said something. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was meat, and I said like, keep them up, don't put them down. And one kid was like, "Why?" And I
It's
just
better to go ahead and
froze.
explain to them.
I just froze, and I was like, because the other way does not mean meat. Let's just go with that. Um,
And then
but
yeah. People always laugh. They're like, oh. So you're like, but it's best to go ahead and explain. I think why another reason people are so scared to sign with deaf is because of these kind of signs. They don't want to, make themselves look stupid. So they're like, careful. So
yeah, I told Luke once. I was like, I've messed up every single sign that I know so many times. It's just like trying to like keep a list of like signs that I need to work on is just not possible. But yeah. Well, Blakeland, thank you so much for being on here tonight. Did you have a good time?
yeah, I was really excited about this. I was like putting my makeup on, getting ready. I'm like, I'm excited. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know why, but I'm excited. So
You should never be nervous around me. Like, if you were nervous, I was struggling and dying inside because I was like, I'm gonna mess up. I'm gonna try Simcom, and I'm just gonna mess up the end.
Simcom is so hard. And me and Luke, we only sign, finish.
I mean, that's why like, yeah, I mean, when we're together, like, we only like sign.
Yeah.
But yeah. But thank you so much. Thank you to everyone in the chat. For
That's mom especially. You're such a good supporting mom.
I
know.
Hey, look, we love my mom.
Yeah, I love your mom.
Yeah. But yeah. Thank you everyone for coming this week. Be sure to keep up with everything that Vider Media has happening. We have new episodes of Saying the Skeen every week. And until next week, for both of us, I'm Doug Gooden, and she's Blakeland Larkin, and you have War, right? You have War. All right, let's toast. Let's toast. And this has been the tea. Thank y'all very much.
Thank y'all.